Welcome back to Barn Built Beaters. We will be mounting this old Ford front clip onto our 2018 Dodge Ram chassis. So follow along and watch my process on how I get these body lines to match up all the way down the length of the body. To start the project off, we first need to trim part of the grille to accommodate the wider frame rails. This will let the front end drop, which in return lets us bring the back of the front clip up to line up the body lines. Then, to get the last inch we need, I need to notch the frame rails. From there I can build mounts to line everything up. We are finally back out in the shop, and that's because we have been waiting for parts, specifically body mounts. I ordered these from Chrysler and they just took a while to show up. I actually had a hard time locating them, but now we can get back onto mounting the front clip onto the cab and bolting it to the frame. And the reason I went with brand new ones is because the old ones I had left, they are a little bit bigger and the steering gearbox is sort of in the way, so the smaller the better, and hopefully I can make these work. The first order of business is to get the door back onto the cab. The body gaps don't have to be perfect, as I'm just worried about the body lines lining up. That way it's easier to line up the front clip with the rest of the body. This may be a little hard to see, but there's a red laser line on the body, and that is to indicate our body line for the rest of the body. As you can see, we're sitting up just a little bit high in the front clip, so we'll have to sink it down, and as we go down the body, it gets better and better and better until it's lined up almost perfectly. Steering gearbox right here, and our front clip body mount location goes right here. So as you can see, we have not a lot of room to work with because there's this curvy bracket right here that holds on this gearbox. So we need to trim the gearbox a little bit and also the frame rail to make room for the body mount. I thought I would spare you guys from watching me grind on the truck, and I would just catch you up later. So what I've done is the frame rails, I've ground and notched the frame rails so this front clip can sink just a little bit lower and the body lines line up all the way down the length of the truck. So that's as far as we've gotten. We've made room for our body mounts, and now it's time to actually start cutting some metal and making the body mount locations or the body mounts themselves, and we can get this front clip actually mounted and properly lined up onto the truck. What we're doing here is we've already drilled a few holes into this piece of metal. This is the metal portion that the rubber body mount bushing will bolt to that attaches the front clip to the chassis or the frame. And now we're about ready to drill a big hole so the body mount can actually sit down onto this plate without interfering with the rubber bushing. What I ended up doing here is I have my plate steel that I'm going to mount the rubber bushing onto. I put it underneath the truck, and I saw that I don't need this whole entire section, but I do want a little bit of excess on there so I can weld on a gusset or just to make it look nice. So this will go right here into the, and then we'll have a border all the way around, and we can weld on a gusset underneath. I'm keeping this little tab right here because I'm not sure how far in or out this has to go, so I'm keeping more than enough. That way it doesn't mess me over later down the road. Now I've gotten this to a point where I can bring you guys in so you guys can kind of see what's going on. So here's the plate that we cut out. I have a magnet kind of just holding it there steady. And here is the steering gearbox, and that's what's making this a lot more difficult than what I wanted it to be. We have the front clip jacked up so we can work in here. So we've cut out roughly a 5.5 section, which is more than enough for the body mount, but we had to go a little bit further to clear the front core support. Now that we have our plate in here, this is probably not the exact spot. It's probably going to be pushed this way towards the steering gearbox a little bit more, but we had to cut open a section to make clearance for that body mount. Later on, once we get this tacked into place or where we know it's going to sit, we'll box this section in so the steering gearbox still has enough support and rigidity for what it needs. I got this idea from Classic Car Studios out of St. Louis, Missouri. They use a piece of railroad track to shape metal. They cut off a chunk, shape it to size, and then take their piece of sheet metal and hammer and dolly it until they get the right curvatures. Since we have a template, that's exactly what we're going to do. And we need to first cut off a nice chunk that we can shape. I already showed you how we had to cut away part of the steering gearbox bracket that holds the gearbox onto the frame rails. And I know this is a common spot where dent sides usually crack, is right where the gearbox mounts to the frame. So instead of just cutting it away, I wanted to also reinforce it some way. So you saw me cut out a template and cut out a piece of metal from there. And then we took that piece of metal and shaped it into size so it fits this groove pretty nicely. I finally got this to fit quite nicely in here. So once this is all welded back in, it'll provide the support that the gearbox needs. So hopefully it won't crack down the road. We have the front clip sitting a little bit better. On this side, it's level and the body lines match up. And I will show you the body mount right over here. If you look down, straight down, you'll see this hole right there. The body mount lines up perfectly. And now we are working on the other side. But for some reason, despite my measurements, where is it? This body mount right there is not. There is the nice hole somewhere. Where's my hand? Right down there. That lines up nice. And if you come over to this side, this one is also now lining up quite nicely as well, right there. I had an hour on the weekend and I ran out to the shop to throw the hood on. I couldn't wait to see the entire body on our new Ram chassis. When the body has fresh paint on it, I'll have to figure out a better way to install the front clip, as this surely wasn't the best way. Apparently, I didn't film myself tacking in the body mounts, but we got them tacked in and the passenger side didn't line up nicely. I ended up working this for 10 more hours, measuring, cutting, welding, and restarting over and over and over until I finally got it just right. The front clip is now sitting perfectly with body lines running straight as an arrow from bumper to bumper. Well, if we had bumpers at least. Here's the front end all assembled. Body gaps aside, I think it's looking quite nice. The body lines are running straight from the front of the truck all the way to the end. The wheels line up nicely in the wheel wells, and everything just looks correct and looks as though it could have came from the factory this way. That being said, there are a few cosmetic differences. The first, the wheels stick out past the fenders more than the stock chassis. I knew this going in, but nothing we can't fix with a new set of wheels, which we had to buy anyways. They bolt on, but unfortunately, they don't clear the calipers. The second, the frame hangs out past the body. It sticks out around 5 inches, but it is as low as the body can possibly go, and I think it looks quite nice this way. Number 3, the wheels aren't in the exact spot they started in relation to the body. They actually move back an inch or two, but this actually helps center them in the wheel well and will prevent rubbing while turning. Don't be mistaken though, this wasn't planned. Now that we have verified the body sits nicely on our new chassis, it is time to pull it all back off. Fortunately for you guys, I won't bore you with the endless welding videos, so I'll catch you in the next video where we can finally start working on something else on the truck. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave me a comment on what you think of the swap so far, and I'll see you in the next one.